Hey gang, we're actually live. I just put out like 3 technological and printer fires, basically. So welcome to Breakfast Poetry Live. It's April 8th, 8th day of National Poetry Month. Maybe I should have combed my hair, but poetry, right? And my big earrings made out of guitar strings a long time ago. All right. So welcome. Saturday morning. So I hope you're enjoying your Saturday morning, whatever you're doing. Why don't we start with some weird works in progress? Help us, Lord. I know it's Easter weekend and maybe the Lord wants it for himself, and that's why there's so much weird. But poetry, I think, an act of worship, says I. Alrighty-o. I stumbled to be understood. To the God who made volcano snails, this bizarre situation speaks to your artistry and rests in your hands. Yeah. So there we go. So we're talking to God on Easter weekend. That's a good thing. All right. Afterwards, we would read our daily Beautiful Words poem, where the day before I will have selected a beautiful word from a can that was kind of compiled from 2 websites, Berlitz and the one I can never remember about, Best Online Living, bestlifeonline.com. And they both compiled lists of beautiful English words, and I put them in a can, draw one, next day have a poem about it. However that goes. Today's word was surreptitious, and here's the poem. Surreptitious never once in my days, except for hiding 2 factory trash cupcakes from my territorial son, to have with my sister and coffee. Surreptitious never and never and never nor ever, except that crowd of endless times in cloud of silver chimes. The end. Surreptitious means secretive. And we'll find a word for tomorrow's poem in the word balls can, in the beautiful words can. What will she be? Today's for tomorrow, solitude. And I cannot clock the lighting situation here and figure it out and unpuzzle it. Solitude. That's what it says, I promise, even though my camera lighting is, I think that what I do is I make it dark in here. Now I have the light on to try to fix it. And then I think my camera on my laptop compensates and blasts everything. So I don't know. I'm not a lighting expert. So between today and tomorrow, I will write a poem using the word solitude, something about solitude. Ooh, I wanted to say I have this really cool ring, and I don't remember what it is. Do I have my phone? I don't. Something to do with quartz, but I bought it from New Moon Magic Studios, which is Damini from None of This Is Real podcast makes jewelry. And this ring, it's Aurora, it's kind of like Aurora Borealis, and it's a quartz stone. And when I saw it, she had posted that she had a jewelry drop coming up, and I was like, that's a poet ring. And so Damini wrote, Happy Poetry Month, sending you magic and inspiration. Thanks for all your support and being such a lovely artistic soul. From Damini, Doomsday Damini, from None of This Is Real, alongside Sarah Sinkhole. And the 2 of them are magnificent human beings, and I love their podcast. It's not a poetry podcast, it's a spooky stuff podcast, which I also love. And they have a beautiful rapport. They were actually born on the same day, and they've been lifelong friends, and they're just magical people. So check out None of This Is Real podcast. Check out New Moon Magic Studios. Oh my goodness, if you join Patreon for None of This Is Real podcast, you get the benefit of globsterotica. So if you are interested in, say, mysterious creatures, cryptids, sea monsters, there is the phenomenon of the globster, which has been sort of debunked as it's just a part of a big whale carcass, when a whale dies, and then part of it, but it's a glob of something. And so for many, many years, when they would wash up, it'd be like, what is it? Oh gosh, it's some kind of monster. Well, Damini and Sarah have written some globsterotica, which is kind of like, it's kind of like a bodice ripping romance about, a woman who has affairs with cryptids. And I'm sorry, it's so worth it. I'm not always able to be a patron, but when I was, I cherished the Globsterotica and kept it forever because it's a blessing. So, but back to poetry. I don't know. I think there's a lot of poetry in that. So I challenge you to become a part of that. Speaking of poetry, okay, so every day at work, if I'm working at the library and there's just a little bit of downtime, or just time to get on the databases that we use with the public, I go for Columbia Granger's World of Poetry, which is a database where you can find poems and poet biographies. Not always the full text, but they always have a daily poem. And yesterday, it was a poem I had memorized in high school called I Wandered Lonely as a Cloud from William Wordsworth. This is my dad's copy of the Prelude and other selected poems and sonnets from William Wordsworth. So like when my dad was in college and he was studying a lot of English and romantic poets. And I'm going to read it, and then I'm going to tell the story that connects to 1970s television, because I think it'll be a hoot. Okay, I wandered lonely as a cloud by William Wordsworth. I wandered lonely as a cloud that floats on high o'er vales and hills, when all at once I saw a crowd, a host of golden daffodils, beside the lake, beneath the trees, fluttering and dancing in the breeze. Continuous as the stars that shine and twinkle on the Milky Way, they stretched in never-ending line along the margin of a bay. 10,000 saw I at a glance, tossing their heads in sprightly dance. The waves beside them danced, but they outdid the sparkling waves in glee. A poet could not but be gay in such a jocund company. I gazed and gazed, but little thought what wealth the show to me had brought. For oft, when on my couch I lie, in vacant or in pensive mood, they flash upon that inward eye that is the bliss of solitude. And then my heart with pleasure fills and dances with the daffodils. I didn't realize I was going to pull the word solitude and then read that killer line out of the last stanza of I wandered lonely as a cloud. So, but the point is that was yesterday's poem of the day on Columbia Granger's World of Poetry. And there is an excellent episode, if you've ever watched the television paramedics drama Emergency, which I believe aired from like 1969 to 76 or something like that when I was a kid. I mean, I wasn't born until 74, but definitely we watched it in reruns. And definitely when I would say my prayers at night until I was about 16, I would be praying, please God, don't let the house catch on fire, because Emergency scared me so much. They were firemen, there were paramedics, so it wasn't always fire, but the fire was what I always took into my nightmares. However, there's an excellent episode, and oh shucks, I left the piece of paper upstairs that tells, but I'm pretty sure it was season 3, like episode 12 or something like that. It was December of 1973, aired an episode called it's called Body Language. I think it was called Body Language. And there were a lot of, it was an hour-long show. There were a lot of little storylines. It's kind of like how it is for firefighters and paramedics, where they're, dashing around, just literally putting out fires, literally rescuing people. And there's a lot of things. And one of the emergencies they ran into on that episode of Emergency was a couple hanging out in a park or a football field or something. And they had too much of a good thing, I suppose. And that was daffodil bulbs mixed with alcohol. I haven't seen that episode in a while, but I'm pretty sure the guy didn't make it. There was a man and a woman. He was unconscious at least the entire time. The woman was in a daze and just kept saying, a host of golden daffodils, a host of golden daffodils, which is a line from I Wandered Lonely as a Cloud by William Wordsworth, romantic poet. So, wow. Okay, so no daffodil bulbs mixed with alcohol, please and thank you. That is what we were taught in the episode Body Language of Emergency. That's public service announcement for today. And here's my candy cane mug that I use year round because it says Twisted and Sweet. And then right there it says, like you. I think I got it at Target 15 years ago or something. So huzzah. Okay, so that was our William Wordsworth moment. Okay, rightio. We're going to find in our can of poetry hats phrases today's phrase. But it's a new Saturday, right? We started a week ago with our stocking hats for poetry hats. And last night I went ahead and printed some new hats, but it also, there's like I have that thing, it's right there. I don't know if I'm going to like lean over and grab it, but it's a model head, like a dummy head that I put tiaras on sometimes when I sell them. But I put the beret on it last night and did the beret for the poetry hats. Now look, when I did the stocking hats, right, I did blue and red, and I thought maybe I'd do a whole bunch of colors. But the thing is with block printing is you want to use up the ink instead of just being like, oh, I just want to do two. And I always squirt out too much ink. It's helpful to get good coverage. Art lesson. But anyway, last night I squirted out a whole bunch of this bright pink ink I found. I'd forgotten about it. It was in my ink basket. And so, like, really, could I stop doing, look at this pink. Could I stop? Are they all going to be pink? Yes, they are. Are they printed on Swiss Rolls boxes? Yes, they are. So sustainable printing, I guess, if buying Swiss rolls is sustainable. But you know what? I don't like perfection, and I would really like to be like the best possible citizen and the best possible saver, not savior, but saver of the planet and doing good things. But by gosh, if we don't buy Swiss rolls enough for me to do test prints on them, I'm a terrible mother. But that's how it goes. Actually, I'm probably half indulgent and half, smacking. No, not really smacking, but figuratively, right? All right. So anyway, did I pull one yet? No, I did not, for our new poetry hat, the beret. Thank you, Kristen, for inspiring the beret. I somehow overlooked that, even though I wear them all the time. Poetry hats, what will it say on the first beret? It will say, I'm askance and I rumble with meadow song. Well, that's very spring. Let's do it. All right. That will be from our nighttime gibberish stuff that I would type up in the middle of the night. The short phrases go into the sweater poems this year poetry hats. And the longer ones are our weird works in progress. Thank you very much for joining me on this Breakfast Poetry Live Saturday, April 8th, 2023. That was so much fun to share Wordsworth and all of those things and emergency. My gosh, you see how the poetry is everywhere. Just don't be like freebase and daffodil bulbs and such. So anyway, have a glorious Saturday, and we'll see you tomorrow.